Boom, baby, we're live. The dream team is here to save you from poverty. Welcome to the Tokyo Crypto Show, Season 2. As we have told you from the very moment that we started this show that this was going to happen. And here we are. And I'm sorry if you didn't take our advice and you didn't trust us. Hey, well, listen, it's not financial advice. What do we know? We're just a bunch of degenerates on the internet. But Bitcoin is now at a crippling all-time high. And it's just staying there. And Trump has won. Bitcoin is soaring. And we are of firm belief that Bitcoin is going to go to $100,000. And we're going to talk about everything in what's going on right now. The markets are absolutely on fire. TradFi is on fire. James, BTC, and Stock Market Steve will be talking about that. The Bitcoin market is on fire. Solana is probably going to have an all-time high within 2 weeks. We have so much to do, guys. It's been one hell of a year. Welcome aboard. How's everybody doing?
Awesome.
It's kind of surreal. Finally we're off. We've been chatting about this for months, all year.
Yeah,
so much waiting.
So where is Hex right now? Pulse Hex, P Hex, all that. Is it at all-time highs?
All-time high, brother.
All-time high. Okay, just checking.
Yeah. Well, a few weeks ago, some people were like, oh, it's up like 40, 50%. And I had a look, and that was only on Pulse Chain, and there was like $2,000 of liquidity. So it's like, what are you?
Hey, I am 99% of the liquidity pool. Okay.
Oh man, I love it. I hope Charlie is stuffing his fat face full of all the food that he bought with all the money he scammed everybody with. Guys, we are having an amazing time here. Mortgage Able says, I'm shorting Bitcoin 100x as soon as it hits 80K. Hey, go ahead, buddy. Pump my bags. Let me know how it works out for you. Guys, we have been telling you with absolute mathematical certainty, and we showed you the presentation to MIT, and the timing of the supply shock is hitting right now. In the month of October, BlackRock alone purchased $4 billion of Bitcoin via the ETF. BlackRock does not make mistakes. They run the world. They're the largest asset manager on the planet. If you just copy their trades, you'll be rich. I mean,
not as rich as Pelosi, though. You need
not as rich as Nancy Pelosi. No, you need a little spot of, you need a little bit of corruption for that. Steve knows the Pelosi sells. He can get you in with her. You guys can go party and get wild to Nancy. Guys, this is just unreal. What is the sentiment like down in Germany, Elias? Because obviously we have political meltdowns happening left and right. I love it. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I'd say the country and the EU is or will be on suicide watch as soon as they wake up. Because the German government coalition just blew. And they'll basically, if they do stuff like as usual, they'll be unable to properly function till end of January, after we have a new vote. And this comes as companies like BMW report 84% loss in profits.
Wow.
And Trump has told everyone over the last years that he will start basically having tariffs with his special law for the EU car maker industry. So I think if you have any EU stocks, might be time, I don't know. But for Bitcoin, I think it's quite good because people need something. People still have savings. So especially in Southern Europe and in Central Europe, there's a lot of people with a lot of money, like 500k USD amounts. And they need some safe harbor to at least preserve some buying power over the next years. So I think maybe now is the time that Bitcoin adoption in the EU will really start with retail, and especially with boomers.
Panama, check in. How are we doing down there?
All good. Trump's victory is really bullish for Panama.
Yeah, good. Speak a little bit closer to the mic, buddy, or turn it up your gain. It's just a little bit low.
How about that?
Yeah. What's the sentiment like in Panama?
People are happy. Of course, there's the left here who is like, oh no, he's gonna get us into World War III. Bitch, he's already stopping it without saying a word. I don't know if you saw that the Houthis from Yemen today made a post where they called for a ceasefire, saying that everything they've done until now was just defensive measures, and that they will no longer be fighting Israel. So yeah, they're so scared from him that he doesn't even have to give them a warning now. They'll just back off. So yeah,
And did you see Zelensky? He said, "Oh, I think it's time for us to start thinking about peace talk with Russia because he knows Daddy Trump's going to cut off the funding for all his shit."
Yeah, and the last week running up to the election, they sent I think 800 billion or 800 million was one of those.
Probably 800 million. Yeah,
it was two sets of 400. It was 400 billion. They said million. Okay, they said two sets of. I think it was within 2 weeks they sent two different sets of.
And
was it kit or direct financing?
No,
I'm
they
sorry?
send weapons.
Direct weapons or like money?
No, as far as I know, they send the weapons and they're valued at that.
Well,
yeah, man.
According to what I'm hearing, that the Germany or the NATO, except for US, is kind of running out of weapon stockpile to send to Ukraine now. They're saying that, hey, we can't send you anymore because we need some for ourselves just in case, because we took all the extra, so there's no more. We can give you money and buy somewhere, but they're saying, well, nobody has any more weapons, so they're buying some from Asian countries now. I think South Korea and Japan are supplying some of the weapons now. So I mean, it's coming down to a wire here, and even Putin said, "Hey, I'm not gonna talk about peace, but with the Trump in the office, something will get settled."
Yeah.
So, these people thinking about the World War III. Remember, Trump doesn't start war; he makes deals.
I knew. Well, war is bad for business. Everybody knows that. Right? You can't be making money if you're at war. And I knew this was in the bag when I saw this is probably the strongest indicator. It's probably the strongest indicator in the world for the presidency was actually put out publicly, but people just dismissed it. And that was when Jim Cramer, he said that the financial markets are suggesting that Kamala Harris was going to win.
Reverse
Cramer said he thought that markets suggest that they're expecting a Kamala win. Just do everything the opposite of what Jim Cramer says, and you were going to be making a lot of money. A lot of money.
He's really good at timing bottoms.
And did you see Jill Biden? She voted yesterday. She was wearing an all red outfit when she voted.
Yeah. Oh, they were livid. They were livid.
I'm convinced they're for they at the end were fully trying to sabotage it.
Oh,
they didn't care anymore.
In politics, all they do is backstab each other nonstop, right? So
yeah. Did you see the Dank Brandon video? It's an AI voiceover, but basically everything Biden did, but they did it as a joke.
Trump should thank Joe Biden, saying that, hey, you were big help. Without you, we could have done it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And despite all of this market action, Ethereum is doing nothing. So we got a whole bunch of I told you so's today. I guess we should just start. So let's start with let's just jump into the price via Alex, and then Alex, after you, I want to get feedback from the traditional finance markets because they too are absolutely ripping right now. Like I said, as we predicted Donald Trump was going to get into office. And then we predicted that after he got into office, that the markets were set to roar in traditional finance, stock markets, futures, all of that, as well as the cryptocurrency market. And we were 100% correct. So, Alex, whenever you're ready, let's just do a read on Bitcoin, Solana, and then we can make fun of Ethereum.
Yeah, easy done. One thing I just shared throw it up. This was from yesterday, as it happened. So in about a 3-hour period, and mostly in the last hour, this is a 15-minute chart, we got a $5,000 move over. So it's just to put into perspective how quickly things can just absolutely just launch. So we're higher than that at the moment. So that's really, it wasn't just like a huge run up and then we crash back down again, because usually around elections things can get very, very volatile, and I think that's exactly what happened in sort of traditional stocks. But Bitcoin seemed to be a bit more honest, where when people thought Trump's going to win, it just went up, and there was sort of this, not all of this kind of like try and run the stops and then reverse and then da 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 da. So we just see like, whoa, huge power. So let's jump over to the chart and have a look.
Have you compared the poly market chart with the Bitcoin chart? As soon as it started climbing up, Bitcoin started climbing up also.
Well, that's it. If Polymarket can prove that they're not a big scam, then they'll be very useful in the future. There's just this overwhelming like temptation that they would have all the time to just like slightly fix things in their favor, and they would make billions. So as long as they stay honest, they will walk away with billions probably themselves, because it's a really cool tool. It works really well. It's really easy. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. The fact that you can like buy something on a certain odds and then sell it at any time. So say the odds move in your favor, you can just kind of sell out again. You can trade it like a chart, is really cool as well. So jumping on to Trading View. Here's our chart. Hello. Look at this beautiful thing. Bang. All-time highs. Huge candle. This was pretty much kicking off just yesterday. Massive move. We've got the week's only half done. 12% in a week. In the total candle, 14.34%. We have cleared all-time highs. And whilst we may have a reaction, generally, especially where we are positioned timing-wise, you buy the breakout. Like, buy the breakout. That is where my mind's at. This is just like launch. So any capital I had on the sidelines waiting to see would we have some sort of volatility around the election, I have just now deployed, guys. It's flown up. You can see where it closes by the end of the week, but that is just absolutely gorgeous. We've cleared this descending channel here. We've sort of seen that ever since all the way back from this low down here at 49,577. That was sort of the last flush out, last shakeout, and now we've just had consistent high bottoms, a nice pattern emerging, very bullish, ready to rock and roll. Yeah, exciting. Solana has been absolutely amazing. This is the daily chart, not the weekly, and you can see how in just like 3 days we've gone up, 24%.
Look at the volume. Jesus.
Like what? Yeah. Here's another thing. You want to look at the volume. So the volume. This is just on Binance, but we had, if you look, we're sort of in the $150,000 to $250,000 range in terms of volume, and then yesterday we had 868,000. So it's over 3 times volume, which is great. Really good. When you see like a big red bar on huge volume, that's a really good sign sometimes of a bottom. But when you have this sort of just ascending, volumes kicking in, like things are looking really good. And on the weekly, we have broken above this high all the way back at May 188. So we've crushed that. And now we're heading into some resistance here, which, on my magic lines, just so happens to coincide with this spooky. I would say that whilst we may look, everyone's kind of riding high, so we might just blast through this and keep going. But this is sort of a logical spot, a few dollars away from where we are right now to kind of settle down for a second. But we could easily be in all-time territory by as we move into December. These things, especially at this time of the 4-year cycle, if that's what you're working off, they tend to surprise you to the upside more than you think. So just be prepared. If you're sitting there thinking, like the guy was like, I'm going to short it. It's like, well, let's just maybe settle down. Go with the trend and you'll be good, basically. So if the trend is up, don't try and front run it by trying to short it, because you might have to wait 8 or 9 months of consistently getting stopped out before the short actually kicks in, because this thing is set to blow. This is the S&P 500, and it had a nice 2 days, 3%, which you might be like, well, compared to crypto, Solana did 24%, but 3%, especially when we're in the high parts of the range, especially when a lot of people are quite happy with the 3% or 3.5% return in a term deposit or something over 12 months. That's quite significant. And we're up at the high. I mean, here's the Australian stock market. We're here at the highs here. you guys bring. I mean, it's probably way too small for anyone to actually see it meaningfully, but this is really good. We're just making high bottoms. We're making high highs. Everything's looking great. Solana Ethereum had a new all-time high. Beautiful. Ethereum is, I mean, it's looking great. It's shot up a nice amount, but it's just still so low compared to where it should be. Like the equivalent on Solana would be like, we really should be seeing Ethereum up towards $4,000, not up towards 3,000. So whilst it's positive to see this resurgence here, you know, if it's sort of, you probably should consider where you'd like to have your portfolio allocated. Like we've been saying, Ethereum should make money compared to USD. It's still got a good amount of mind share, so there's no worries about that. But it's still losing versus Bitcoin, and on the chart on the whole, Solana is eking out higher and higher, and Solana is holding its own versus Bitcoin. So, you know, have a think. Read the chart. You're the master of your own destiny. But we're all sitting here very, very excited. Fear and greed is chilling at about 70. And last week it was 77. So people were more bullish last week than they are this week. And yet we've got all-time highs. We've got a 30% move in most of the top coins. We are getting volume coming in. We've had another few $billion flow into the ETFs. There's just so much stuff going on. We've also got the magical 4-year cycle, which, you know, this is right on time. There's just so many things that are all converging, and so you kind of can't help but be bullish, to the point where I'm sitting here getting a bit sus because I'm just like, oh, like it's looking so good. It's looking so good. And sometimes you can't really believe it because it's kind of like, it's like you're watching a movie. Like the script is just playing out so perfectly. But that's sort of how these things go. And yeah, we should be feeling pretty good. Don't be going crazy. I don't think we're anywhere near like a top. Like Solana still hasn't broken an all-time high. Bitcoin is all-time highs, but this is certainly not the highs that we can expect it to get in this 4 to 4 year cycle. 2025 should be absolutely magical. Historically, this period of time is when it's kicked off and just not looked back across all the cryptos that are going to go well. So yeah, like buckle up, everyone. I mean, we've been saying buckle up for a while, but like we're off. It's time to go. And I am excited that finally all of this stuff that we've been looking at and all these lines we've been drawing are all playing out for us in a way that is really positive. And yeah, like poof, turns out seems we were right, guys. Nice. Very nice.
James, actually, Steve, you're heavily working with the stock market now with your new internship, and you are literally like drowning in TradFi work. Can you give us just a complete breakdown of what's going on?
Sure. So since the news is so fresh, and since, you know, there's so much information, the market's still digesting what's going on. I mean, literally on all my finance view websites that I use, they're all operating slower. Some of them aren't even operating at all compared to literally yesterday. That just shows how much everybody and their dog's trying to figure out what's going on. But this is my current tentative thesis and what I think is going on right now. So currently everything is up across the board. We can see actually that the 10-year yield climbed a fair amount. That happens often when bonds get sold off. Likely people are selling those bonds as they want more riskier positions in the stock market. So clearly people are fleeing from more safety assets to more risk-on assets. Even gold was down a little bit last time I checked. Gold's another safety asset. People are now exiting their capital from that towards more risky things. Mind you, crypto is considered, at least by TradFi, to be one of the most risky mediums in the world. So this risk-on strategy is great for everyone's crypto portfolios, to say the least. I think that one of the biggest things that's driving these gains is probably fears over tax increases from Kamala Harris, namely the tax increase policy for putting capital gains taxes on unrealized gains. That you have to remember that the vast majority of people who own stocks, people that are the biggest players in the stock market, are the wealthy. And that tax plan was targeted towards unrealized gains that the wealthy have. Well, now that the wealthy's money is no longer being threatened by that new tax, they're now more comfortable leaving their money in the stock market. Another thing is, of course, in general, they're going to be happy over deregulation. Bounding back to taxes, if you look at stock market performance in environments where either taxes are low and inflation is low, or taxes were high and is trending down to low as, law changes are implemented, it has always posted its best performance all the decades. If you look at the stock market under Calvin Coolidge, if you look at the stock market under John F. Kennedy, these are often some of the best times. If you look at the stock market under Reagan, the stock market in the 90s, all these were falling tax times. All these were also major market gain times, the early 2000s as well. Trump is the promise of lower taxes. All the other time that there were lower taxes, the markets did the best. So the investors are likely aware of this and they're responding accordingly. The other thing is that the SEC fears, particularly if some of you might own Coinbase, that's now being shelved. Trump is very, very pro-crypto. He's going to, have a decidedly more lenient SEC when it comes to this kind of financial regulation. This is another thing that's going to be pumping the markets. In the past and leading up to the election, Trump also called for dovish Fed policy. He wants interest rate cuts as much as possible. Now, of course, the Fed is stated to be politically impartial. They're only numbers based as they state, but if you look at many central banks around the world, including those that are in developed countries, though they don't say it, often when the politicians start barking for interest rates one way or the other, they'll often follow because they don't want to lose their jobs. So the market could also be pricing in a more dovish Fed under Donald Trump. That is tentative, though. That is only my current working thesis. We're only a day after all this happened, but that is what I strongly believe is happening. The other thing that I think is impacting it is the memory of 2016 and the performance to 2020 versus the performance of the greater economy under Biden. 2022 was a year of extreme inflation. 2023 was as well, whereas 2016 to 2020 things are stable. Speculators could be comparing those two different economic times and could be pricing in accordingly as well. There could also be hope for less government spending and the government making up less of an inefficient share of the economy. Elon Musk has talked about cutting costs for the government in many, many different sections. This could be a hope for the government taking up much less of the economy and thus having a more efficient, greater economy as the private sector takes more control. Outside of that, the only worry that the markets might have under Trump is that some economists are not a fan of his tariff policies. However, those have yet to be meted out. And I believe that a lot of those tariff policies are probably going to be targeted towards China, which already underprices most of its goods due to its subsidies, as well as their immense number of unfair trading practices. So if he's going to tariff, the Chinese, for example, that would then just be bringing up market prices to where they should be, not making things excessively expensive. So I don't view the tariffs as an immediate risk either. So far, on my view, for this current tentative thesis, as this is also new, all lights are green. Bull market is a go. Let's get this baby.
I like it. I like it a lot. Thank you so much, Steve. And James, I wanted you to talk about your just perspective on the overall thing, and then if you have, I could pull up the liquidity. I want you to talk about global liquidity at the end, please. Kind of tying into what Alex said with the perfect storm being formed right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add to what stock market Steve said. I think one of the things that Trump kind of mentioned multiple times is that he's going to deregulate and he's going to lower the energy prices, which he believes is one of the factors driving inflation, right? As well as Elon jumping in with the whole government spending issue. So I think I would go probably long on the energy, oil and gas and energy sector, but I would probably not go long, possibly short on the big pharma with the RFK Jr. coming in. But again, we're going to see, like Trump said, he thinks there's a more room to lower the interest rate. So he's going to try to work with the Fed to lower the interest rate, as well as putting the tariffs on Chinese goods, mostly, like Steve said. and try to shift some of that manufacturing at home, which would increase the energy spending, the infrastructure spending, and the production spending, right? Which is good for the middle class. That's what we were campaigning on. And as well as lower energy costs would be good for the Bitcoin, as well as all the other crypto or any IT or AI companies. So I think overall it's a good thing. I think it'll be just I would kind of stay away from the military defense industry. I think he's going to try to cut a lot of deals in the Middle East and Europe, trying to eliminate a lot of the conflicts that's going on there, as well as like going back big pharma with the RFK Jr. taking charge. And I think there'll be a lot of scrutiny for a big pharma, as well as a lot of the healthcare policies that's kind of blanket healthcare policies, right? The liquidity wise, if we see the conflicts around the globe ending, I think that's going to free up a lot more liquidity going to other investments, especially that being growth sector, as in technology related, including crypto, and energy related. I think that it just kind of all the dominoes are kind of lining up as we discussed over last 12, 14 months. And this is almost like coming to a perfect storm of next couple of years where we're going to ride the liquidity wave. And if you get into the right sectors and right companies or right investment, you can make a lot of money over the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the global liquidity. I mean, guys, I got to tell you again, like, aside from James here, the five of us were pretty smart, but if it wasn't for James, we would not be where we are, because he gives us a really good just perspective on everything, adding a traditional finance light on things, because traditional finance is way more money involved in that industry than the cryptocurrency, and having him to bridge the gap between the crypto knowledge that we have and then the solid history of data that TradFi brings to the table. I mean, with this combination, like, it is very, very, very hard to lose. And what James is talking about specifically is this global liquidity chart, which we've been playing and showing you guys for the longest time. As you see, the US is the orange one, and the liquidity went down. They stopped doing this massive spike up was also due to C19. But it actually started a little bit in 2019, but then it shot up as 2020 came through. And then, it went down, and that's when the economy kind of was a little tight and a little harder, due to the policies of the Biden administration as well. But now the timing has perfectly coincided, because if this were to go up, this is going to go up, right? However,
Yep.
It's the degree at which it goes up, and then the usefulness and the efficiency of the government is going to be far better under a Trump administration. There is a gigantic change happening within the world. They are starting to, Bitcoin itself is a whole new asset class, which is in itself truly insane. And then on top of that, if you were paying attention to the other parts of the election, this was put out on Watcher Guru a little bit ago. And you can see right here, over 250 pro-crypto candidates have been elected to Congress this election. And this is according to Fox Business News. So the thing is, there is the global acceptance of cryptocurrency is just growing and growing and growing. And in addition to that, there's going to be less and less people standing in the way, because we had Gary Gensler, who is the head of the SEC, who has been one of the worst heads of the SEC in the history of our country. He was appointed by the Biden administration, who has been trying their damnedest to stifle cryptocurrency. And we do have some bad news. Unfortunately, Pocahontas herself, she did win re-election in the U.S. Senate. She will continue her anti-Trump and anti-crypto ways of life. But first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. They have fought us. The fight is over. Crypto is here to stay. And the upcoming 2025 is set to be pretty insane. I think us here unanimously on the panel do believe that Bitcoin will go to $100,000. Is that unanimous across all six of us here? Show of hands. Bitcoin's going to go to 100K. Yeah.
Plus 100K plus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, James, you're saying that you believe the Bitcoin's going to do some really wild numbers. Like you're predicting, a top of 250-ish. Can you
300 next year?
250 to 300 next year?
Yep.
Can you break that down for us a little bit with a little bit more detail?
Remember, everything starts with the total market cap for the crypto industry, right? Total crypto market cap. Currently, we're sitting at about $2.6 trillion. But what I'm projecting is the market cap of about 10 trillion. Again, might be a little bit of opium there, but that's 4x. So current price of Bitcoin at 75,000 times 4, it's pretty easy, right? 300,000.
Yeah. Elias is on the ground literally building Bitcoin mining facilities around the world, and he has the on-chain data that is mathematically sound. Like if you just look at Bitcoin and understand the math of the mining behind it all, this was the easiest money you could have made in your entire life. And right now, the timing has been absolutely perfect. Elias, you should go ahead and take it away whenever you're ready, pal.
Yeah, basically miners are happy right now, but I'll just share the screen real quick. Can you see this chart?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. If we check this is the weekly basically, so I don't have a lot to add to what James said. What Alex said before. But if we check this weekly candle here, we have about a 10 to 14% increase, and plus 12%, and we are basically on track with this gray line, which is the projected last bull market, just onto the current timing. So that's because we are on track here with the ghost pattern. That's why I'm now also more leaning towards the 140K top, conservative top for Bitcoin, and trying to sell in April, March to May 2025. And what this means for Bitcoin mining is basically we did have over 10% increase here, but we also had a over 6% increase in the mining difficulty. So the competition in Bitcoin mining increased and because of this we had a difficulty increase, which will make it harder for current miners to get Bitcoin, and the result is they just make less profits. And this comes at a time where the average transaction fee is at about one USD to 150. And if we check the difficulty here, we are also at an all-time high for the mining difficulty. So if we go to the 6-month or 3-month chart, we see the red line here is the difficulty. We've been at 95, and then we had an increase of about 6% to over 101. So this is also an all-time high. Regarding the hash rate too, I think if we go to the 3-year, yeah, we basically we are a bit down now on the weekly, but we hit an all-time high in the global network hash rate. And the result of that is just that the average price per mined Bitcoin worldwide is at about 82K. So for a few mining farms, we will still have a bit of selling pressure, but as long as we go up, I think that will be no problem. We're basically it's a bit harder to go up right now because of this, but on the other side, miners also do know that Bitcoin will go up now and will go up long term, and so they can, if they have the funds and don't have to sell to keep everything running, or they can get a credit to pay for electricity for a few months or something like that to a few smaller plays, they will try to sell as little as possible, so as little Bitcoin as possible, which is good for the overall Bitcoin price. And that's basically it from the mining perspective. So looking really good. Miners are
I
happy.
got a question, Elias. Let's say Trump is able to bring the cost of energy down. What would happen to the? I mean, obviously, the miners are going to be making more money, right? Because the electricity is like one of the biggest costs. Would that affect the hash rate at all, or it's just the bottom line that's going to affect it?
Absolutely. I can show you an example. So there's just a website to check mining costs and everything. So this is a very widely used model that is switched off in big parts of the US mining sector right now. And on this website, Async Miner Valley, you can basically put in your electricity price. So if we go to the electricity price for most big US miners, which would be at about 6 cents or even higher per kilowatt hour, we see that they have big fleets of miners that make a total income of about $4.50 per day, but the electricity cost right now would be $4.70. So if they get it down by 2 to 5 cents maybe, actually those miners are in profit.
Oh, so let me kind of put it in my words, right? My understanding. So the miners actually have rigs that are not as efficient. There are some I mean, the older rigs that are not as efficient, so which they're kind of setting idle because the electricity price is too high right now, right? But if the electricity price comes down, they can bring those older rigs online to bump up the hash rate.
Yep, and we've seen this happening. So if we go to the 2-year chart, what you see here, right here, this was in April, the halving. I hope you can see the chart well. And then we had a sudden drop in the global hash rate. And this was actually mostly US miners and miners in China switching off the old machines, so the old ASIC models. And this because they weren't profitable anymore at halved Bitcoin rewards per block. And
how far does this chart goes back? Can you go back to like 2016?
To 2009.
Okay. Can we zoom in on like 2015, 16? Is that possible?
Yep. (2015 to 2016).
Yeah, 16, 17, please. Let's see what happened.
Yep, that's it. Went exponential. So there's...
Give me 1 second. Let me look at what the average price of electricity did.
I'll just finish the explanation for this year.
Okay.
That basically the halving happened. They switched off a lot of miners and added new equipment, mostly using VC money, which is why we saw a lot of selling pressure too, because those that didn't have VC money had to sell Bitcoin to buy new rigs to increase efficiency so they can keep basically stay in business. And if Bitcoin really pumps up right now, or the electricity price in the US goes down, we will see a lot more competition in mining, which could add selling pressure. But I think for us, it's for the Bitcoin price, it's not really relevant, to be honest.
So let me kind of take a step back. If the electricity price goes down, do you think it'll be a good idea? Or if we expect the energy price to go down, would it be a good idea to go long on the miners?
Depends on which miners.
Okay.
So if you there's huge differences in what the average electricity price of miners of different mining companies is, and which rigs they run.
Okay.
So
okay.
So there's some that have an average production cost per Bitcoin of about 39K right now. with electricity, everything in, and some that have the production cost of 90K, and those are big companies.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Okay.
So there's huge differences. But we could go into detail next week, so I can prepare something on mining stocks. The only problem I see with mining stocks is that they don't really pay out most of the profits.
So you're kind of, if you do go in a trade for mining stock, it'll be just a price appreciation, not a dividend play, right?
Yep, it's like they do internal auto compounding. It's like they only go up in price based on investments, and they don't really pay out dividends. That's the big point. And if your mining stock didn't make at least 200% over the last year, they're not really paying out a lot. They're just getting started.
Possible trade there. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Good information. So like I said, we're poised. I mean, traditional finance is set to rock and roll. The government is no longer going to be attacking crypto. Eric Trump just tweeted something out recently. He is the son of Donald Trump. And Michael Saylor tweeted out, he says, we have a Bitcoin president. And then Eric Trump right after that says, America must lead the way. Because Trump knows that there's, I mean, dude, cryptocurrency is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. If you're going to sit there and turn your nose up at it because you're an old, demented psychopath running this country, you're going to get left behind. And when you're the nation's leader, or when you're the world's financial behemoth, which is America, to neglect cryptocurrency is a gigantic problem. There's so much tax revenue to be collected through taxing these assets in a fair way. And I'm not saying like pay their fair share like these criminals always say, but it's a whole new asset class. And honestly, if you think of everything in like the all fiat money is a scam, scenario, which it is, then crypto is just another asset to inflate with all the money we're printing. So at this point, holding on to dollars is just it is foolish. So
here's what I don't get, right? Which, let's assume that everybody starts paying into Social Security at 18 years old when you start working. So why can't Social Security or government take that money and instead of doing a freaking, Ponzi scam, take some of that money and put it into a, Bitcoin or crypto ETF, as well as some S&P 500 or NASDAQ ETF on their individual account, right? Then just let it ride as you put more into your Social Security. And by the time you're 65 or whatever, 55, 59 and a half, whatever you want to retire, you will have a huge nest egg, and you will pretty much have solved the Social Security problem, right?
James, they got to save you. They got to save you from the gains.
The Social Security problem is a huge problem in America right now because you have all these boomers who have all these assets. They got a house for like $80,000. It's nice in the 80s. And they're just collecting the Social Security money right now. On top of that, a big problem in the world is happening in Japan. It's happening in Korea. It's happening in America. It's happening all over Europe. Is the companies are making record high profits, record high profits, but the wages for the working class have not increased with these profits, and that's a huge problem because you have all this concentrated wealth at the top, and eventually you're going to have a disenfranchised middle working class, and when that happens, that's when people start revolting. That's when they go on the streets and they start rioting and start getting crazy. So this is a big problem. This is a huge problem. This is why young men are so disenfranchised. No one wants to try anymore. It's a gigantic problem. And we're working on, like, thank God with this current administration, because, the Democratic Party, all they really want to do is put everybody on social welfare. That's like, they want to put people on much government assistance programs so they can control the masses, because they don't like you, bro. The government hates you. The government does not like you at all. You're an inconvenience to them. You're something that you're just a means to the end for them. So I want to tie something into the mining real quick because I kept on saying this over and over and over again, and it's a little bit boring, but I don't really care because this is important. This is the presentation that they gave at MIT this year, and take a look at this real quick. I want to skip ahead.
Drop right there below the blue line that is gold, and in my opinion, the only reason demand. And so here's your classic supply and demand, your Marshall.
And this is like verbatim what we've been saying and talking about on the channel. I played this during the my election stream yesterday, and the chat started getting angry. But I'm going to show you right now why mathematically Bitcoin is set to go way higher than it is right now, with absolute certainty from a pure mathematical standpoint. Pay attention at home.
Across this Econ 101 stuff. And price is set where supply and demand meet. But in any given,
so I'm gonna skip ahead here,
and changes again, and we'll keep changing.
And what I'm going to give you a quick little explanation. So the supply the quantity is represented by the x-axis here going left to right, and the price is represented by the y-axis going up and down. And as the quantity gets less and less, which is the supply, the price is set to continue to go up. It is a mathematical certainty.
This, of course, is a bit of a static view, and it doesn't take into account all these external variables of how demand might shift, probably lateral shift, as more and more people learn about Bitcoin and realize they want to include it in their portfolio, and it becomes de-risked from a geopolitical point of view as well. But the point here is that you can see that in a vacuum, where supply meets demand on the y-axis goes up as the amount of Bitcoin being produced decreases.
And so here's the next part. Okay, so this is just very simple. The supply is 1.8 billion and the demand is 1.8 billion. Therefore, the price is going to relatively stay the same. But after the halving, the price is reduced permanently on a daily basis forever by 50%. So when supply goes down, price goes up. But there is a reserve of supply that is accumulated over the past 4 years from 2020 until 2024.
So to take it at Bitcoin, the price is a ton of noise here, but these are the will drop. By me here, we're going to. Okay, so this is right before the.
So this is important. So in this little box here, this is the available crypto Bitcoin that is available for sale. Each is represented by one block. Okay, so you add one block per month, and then the demand comes out per month. Okay, so there is no need for any change in the price because the supply is the same. But watch what happens here.
Halving. We have that supply and demand balance. The amount of new supply, the orange block there, is equal to the amount of inflowing demand. You've established price equilibrium between supply and demand. At any given time, there's a certain amount of Bitcoin that's available for sale. 5% of Bitcoin has moved in the last month, typically. So that's the size of that box relative to the whole circle is the total circulating supply of Bitcoin. Not all of that is available for sale. So what really sets the price is what's available for sale. And we'll see how the mechanics here play out. So this is before the halving, then the halving occurs. Not as much supply is being created, but just as much demand is coming in, and that starts to chip away at available for supply. 3 months later, you've eaten a little bit of what was available. And then that continues. The price has to, as the amount of available for sale supply starts to shrink, the market has to find more supply. The only way to do that is for the price to drift upwards in order to induce holders to become willing sellers. So the price starts to drift up at this point, and then keeps drifting up. And as it keeps drifting up, more demand comes in because people get excited. Why is the price of Bitcoin, why does it keep going up for the last 6 months? I want in on that. It's going to keep going up. I want to buy more. So now you're suddenly eating bigger chunks. Granted, you're also starting to inspire some long-term hodlers to start selling some supply. But this starts to accelerate. The imbalance starts to accelerate. And now you've really reached mania conditions where you're chewing through available for sale supply because of the imbalance of demand versus supply from mining and supply from hodlers becoming willing to sell. And what we're talking about here is a development of mania. This is what mania looks like. And that's a bubble. And that's the reality of what a Bitcoin halving creates. It creates the conditions for a bubble over the next 12 to 18 months because of that accumulation of the supply shortage, a supply shock. And that's been the story of Bitcoin. If you really want to take out the noise and look on a log chart at the Bitcoin price over time, it looks more or less like this. And that shouldn't surprise us because we have these vertical points in time where supply demand price equilibrium is upended. So
exactly this left, again, this y-axis, the up and down arrow is purchasing power. This is price. And then this x-axis going right to left is time. And so you see here, the price went up. They had the halving, they had a supply shock. And so the price overcorrects. Okay. And then it undercorrect, and then it it overcorrects upwards, it overcorrects downwards, and it finds some equilibrium. Then the market is a little bit stable right in time, and then you have the next halving. And this happened in 2016. Going up again, down again, finding some equilibrium, 2020. Up again, down again, up again, down again, 2024. So this was here. Now, the price shock happens 6 months after the halving date. And the halving date in 2024 was April 20th, 420. 420 plus 6 months is roughly 1020. So we're right here now. We're right here when this is starting to go up. And this is going to continue to overcorrect, like James said, probably 200,000 Bitcoin, give or take. And then it's going to have a violent crash off. Everybody's going to freak out, call Bitcoin a scam, crash down, go into a bear market. And then it's going to have an accumulation phase. And right on time, it's going to gain some equilibrium. And then 2028, the halving will happen. This has been happening since 2012. We have 12 years of data to look back on this.
What makes this so powerful is that not only that chart John just shared, which is based on the halving cycle, right? And the Bitcoin halving and how it drives the demand and the supply. Not only that, that chart coincides with a 4 years or 5 to 6 year cycle for the global liquidity we shared earlier, right? And that coincide with the presidential election cycle every 4 years. Yeah. So you're looking at all these factors lining up for a major bull market here rest of the year and well into end of 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you look at the global liquidity market, the projections here are not any different than what we've been telling you guys.
And that's the demand side of that curve he was talking about, right? Demand side. Mm-hmm. The halving is the supply side. I mean, it's phenomenal how everything just lines up.
And you see here, this is what we're talking about. These are 4 years, how it goes up and down, up and down, and up, down. And then if you look at the liquidity cycle, this is data going back to 1968. This is the difference between when I was doing the Tokyo Crypto Show season 1 without this TradFi information. The red dotted line is the projection, and the black line is actually what happened. So here we are right now, 2024, and you see we are already starting to go up. This is when they start printing more money, allowing more money, and in order for more money to be printed, the interest rates are going to go down. And the interest rates went down in this year in September. So the amount of liquidity, and liquidity is money that comes out into the world via the governments and printing, okay? That's why the price of these assets, Bitcoin specifically, is going to go up. And so now we have already bottomed out. And I said, like this is why Alex and I are a little bit afraid, because we almost have this too perfect. It's like, oh my God, like this is like terrifying. If you allocated,
and the other thing, you know what coincides with the liquidity cycle is that, remember, the government around the world issues debt to make up for the shortfall in their budget, and they've been issuing their debt at these high interest rate over the last 2 years or 3 years, whatever, right? Because the interest rate was going up to fight the inflation. Now they think they have conquered the inflation or put the inflation on damper. They're going to print liquidity to recall that debt, right? Because they cannot afford interest payment at 5.5%, 5.25%. So as they lower the interest rate, they're going to have to print money and buy and soak up all the high interest rate debt and reissue the debt at lower 2.5% to lower their interest rate payment, which coincide with that global liquidity curve, right? So they have to print money to buy up all these high interest debt.
Mm-hmm. And a couple things is TradFi too. So TradFi used to have the advantage with having all these prediction tools and all this data and whatnot. So we did predict that they will cut rates in September. So guys, I'm telling you right now, I talked about this last night on my 12+ hour election stream, and we have the perfect, like I was saying, again, going back to me and Alex, we're like low-key terrified, because if you made your allocations, which means you bought your coins in 2023 or 22, timing and getting ready for this liquidity pump, plus a presidential change, plus a pro-crypto Congress, plus the rates going down, plus Blackrock, plus the halving, plus the fucking ETFs being launched and pumping billions and billions and billions. Remember when they showed you like the supply constantly gets eaten up? Blackrock alone has purchased $20 billion in Bitcoin, and they haven't sold a single one since January until now. They have over 250,000 Bitcoin in their position, and they're not going to sell it.
And Saylor just said he's going to spend $42 billion to buy more next 2 years.
Yeah.
Next 4 years. Again.
So now here it is again. Okay. Mark this prediction right now, because we're going to be back here next week. And we're going to tell you that we're fucking right. This weekend, November 7th and November 8th, okay, which is tomorrow for you guys. Tomorrow, November 7th and November 8th is the Federal Reserve meeting. People are already assuming that they are going to cut the interest rates. And Larry Fink and these guys, now they're starting to know the TradFi, they're starting to fall behind because people are preparing. Larry Fink came out and made a statement here, and take a look here what he said.
Today,
this is the BlackRock CEO, probably one of the most powerful men in the world.
Today, I think we have governmental policies that are embedded inflationary. And and with that being said, I think we're not gonna see interest rates as low as people are forecasting. Today.
So he is saying that interest rates are not be as low as they think they are. I think so. They have a meeting this 7th and 8th, and I believe it's this 18th and the 19th of December. I'm not. It's like 17th. It's sometime mid-December. Trump is in office now, man, and we need interest rate. These interest rates are too high, and I think that they are going to cut rates this weekend, and then they're going to cut rates again in December. And what this means is when they cut the interest rates, more liquidity comes into the marketplace, the financial markets, TradFi, and now crypto, because crypto and TradFi are now interlinked via the ETFs. So you're going to see more money coming out into the space, less interest rates. So it's going to be cheaper to borrow money, which means you can make more profit on the back end. And I think we're going to see more rate cuts into 2025 as well. I think we're getting ready to have a fucking insane 2025.
Well, I know Steve's been working with our friend Joel. One of the things that they harp on is that the PP&E, right? The U.S. industries fixed asset is getting so old, right? All the equipment of the factories, they're getting old, and they are just waiting for interest rate to go down to finance all these new purchase of the equipment that's going on, right? And this has been going on since, probably end of financial crisis. They've just been wringing out the old equipment, trying to, move it another year to finance it. Now they see interest rate coming down, and that's going to really drive the purchasing. So economy is going to go up next 12, 24 months because of it. There'll be a lot of spending. And have you guys noticed that the job report every month this year has been revised down? Every month this year, job report that the initial job estimate, they revise down every month after that, right? So Fed knows all these data points. So they have to lower the interest rate regardless the inflation worries they have.
It's setting up to be something fucking insane. Adam, I know you got to run. Say your piece. Take as much time as you want, buddy. Take as much time as you want.
No worries. So, going off of what you mentioned with the how Bitcoin is designed, you gotta remember Bitcoin was made as a response to the 2008 financial crisis. So you can have a worst case scenario. The Bitcoin white paper was published on October 2008, and the big crash happened on like August, September. So worst case scenario, you have one guy who had 1 month to plan all this out. Or if you subscribe to the theory that Satoshi wasn't one person, but rather a group of people masquerading as one guy, and the financial crisis actually started early 2007. So like best case scenario, you have a group of people who clearly know about economics and monetary policy. They have a full year and a half to design essentially the perfect currency in terms of like supply and demand dynamics, and the way they release it and how they made the halving years always coincide with U.S. elections, considering that is probably one of the biggest geopolitical events that happen in the world every 4 years. Like, if you ask me, it was all designed to maximize pump. The best word I can say for it.
My theory is that it was a startup by U.S. think tanks like NSA and CIA, and it was a measure to somehow correct the national debt level, right? Saying that, hey, we're going to come up with this thing, and it's this super asset. It's going to go up, and so at some point we're going to have to come in and start accumulating, and that's going to offset the liability side of the U.S. government balance sheet, right? So that's my theory. I don't think, like you said, I don't think it's one person. I think it's a group of think tanks that came up with it behind the scene.
Yeah, and with the price recently going up, yeah, it's in part because of Trump winning, but it also extends to the ramifications of him winning. Like I mentioned a couple of weeks before, that the reason Bitcoin wasn't moving much was that retail money was scared to get into the market for many reasons, really. But one of the main ones was the whole uncertainty with the war in the Middle East and in Ukraine, because uncertainty, the market doesn't like uncertainty. They want to know what's going to happen so that they can make their bets appropriately. And now with Trump winning, the Houthis in Yemen already gave up, and Putin already confirmed that he is at the ready to start negotiations for a peace deal in Ukraine. Like all of this coinciding with other factors like the Fed cutting rates and having a pro-Bitcoin government now in the US. Like all of this is creating the perfect storm for like an amazing bull cycle next year. So barring something like a black swan event happened, which I don't see. I mean, it's a black swan event for a reason, but I don't see anything like really bad happening with the way things are panning out. We're in for a good one. Like if you made your allocations, even if you started late, even if you started like mid 2024,
start now.
Yeah, even now you're still technically early. You will still have like at the very least a 2 or 3x. Almost, I would like to say guaranteed. Nothing guaranteed, but basically guaranteed. So yeah, I'm really excited. Everything seems to be panning out for the good. Like in our interest for the price. Also, a quick note: people seem to wonder like why aren't meme coins pumping right now? Trump won. Yeah, Bitcoin is moving, and historically, the best, like the absolute best moment for altcoins and meme coins to pump is when Bitcoin is above an all-time high and it just settles down at that price range. So right now we are $75,000 per Bitcoin. If Bitcoin just stayed here for a couple of days or weeks, which by the way I don't think it's gonna happen, but if it did, then all of those gains from this recent pump will eventually trickle down into the memes. Now, with the election being so recent, I think Bitcoin is gonna continue moving into the end of the year, and it will consequently drag everything else with it. But the really, really big moves you can expect them to happen the moment Bitcoin starts to settle above its all-time high, where it just creates a range before its next move up. In that period of time, that's what we call an alt season.
Yep. Yeah. And so what we believe to happen now, Alex, sorry to ask you again. Could you just pull up Solana, because Solana is the Ethereum of this run.
Seems to be, yeah.
Ethereum's performance has been astronomically abysmal. If in the cope that we see with people who support Ethereum is really sad, honestly. Ethereum is.
Oh yeah, wrong, guys.
All right, buddy. Take care. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you, bud. I mean, yeah. I mean, and just going into, I just wanted to get a little bit of your take on the actual price projections for Solana. Because I think that, like, we're going to see a lot. And this weekend, I'm telling you, they're going to cut the rates and the market's going to pump. And I'm going to show you guys again about the data I have noticed over the years in regards to how to make money in this market. I'll be talking about that right next. But Solana is seriously the best cryptocurrency right now out there, in my opinion. It's the safest bet. It's the most surefire thing, because Solana, people jokingly call it the Solana casino, because everybody's on there just gambling, trying to make meme coin money. And in order to play, you got to buy Solana. And when you buy Solana, the price goes up.
Yeah, but it's also got like an insane amount of developers, more developers than Ethereum. And we've got the Solana phone, which I'm not entirely across, but it seems to be like you have the phone and you can stake your Solana, and then that pays for the phone, like, to operate and all these sort of things like that. So
that's genius.
I think one of the big things with the cryptocurrency adoption curve is the wallet issue, custody and wallet issue, right? Because the tech challenge boomers or the mainstream people cannot understand that you have to download the wallet, and you got to move it, and there's a key phrases, all that stuff. Kind of having the Solana phone, which has built-in hardware support for the wallet, kind of removes a lot of those, learning curve issues, and I think that's huge. And I think that's why the storage, the cold storage Tangem, you guys heard of the Tangem, the near field, you tap just like a credit card. That wallet is so popular because there's, very minimal learning curve.
When it comes to price predictions for Solana, like I'm here on the weekly chart and just looking, like, mathematically, where does it like to go? And this is drawn all the way from the bottom of the bear market, which generally is a good indicator. So we had like sort of a blow off over this area, and then we kind of came back down again. So if we take something like this, this is like uber conservative, uber, and you go to like, oh, well, do we expect a high around April, May? Well, then we've got new all-time highs. If we expect something around the end of the year, boom. And so you're sitting there and you're like, oh, maybe we get to $400, and that's like kind of chill. But as we've established at this part of the cycle, everything seems to, more often than not, it'll surprise you to the upside more than the downside. So we have some other levels, and like, honestly, 460, if Solana is there, Solana is going to be at half the market cap of Ethereum, which, given that we're noticing Solana is consistently outpacing Ethereum, being 50% of the current level of Ethereum is sort of, that's quite a reasonable achievement. And if anything, it could go much higher up. This is a fan drawn from sort of the last major low we had. So that's another really good indicator for different sort of zones and things. And so if Solana was to get to the current Ethereum market cap, it is like over $800. And so Solana has just flipped BNB as the sort of number 4 crypto now. 3 is just Tether, which is just a stable coin. So in terms of sort of altcoins, it's now sort of, Solana's really hot on the heels of Ethereum. So it all depends on if we see Solana breaking all-time highs and Ethereum just launches and it's also starting to get all-time high territory, then maybe Ethereum will come back. But that would be kind of a surprise. That would be, like, the chart doesn't suggest that it should be doing that. So, it'd be great if it did. I'm very happy for more cryptos to go up and the total market cap to increase. But that would be more surprising to see Ethereum have that kind of strength. So Solana, I mean, literally anywhere from $800 to, you know, $1,200 potentially, over $1,000 is, when you do the numbers, not unreasonable. Now, I'm not going to say like that's it. Maybe we're all the way down here. Before I said maybe it might be $400, which is why we need to take it level by level and just check in. Where are we in March to May? Like, where are we? We might find in the next 2 weeks we've blown through all-time highs in Solana. We might find by Christmas.
What's your expectation for the end of the year? Reasonable expectation.
All-time high. We should make an all-time high by the end of the year.
300, 400?
Like. Yeah. I mean, where's that current one? 259. So, yeah.
You think end of this year, my friend? End of this year.
This year, we should have an all-time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, I think we're gonna have. I think in 2 weeks we'll have all-time high. I think in 2 weeks. That's me.
Well, that is on the table. Like, that would not be unreasonable.
So you're expecting like 300 to 400 by end of the year this year?
If it's at 300 to 400 by the end of this year, then there's nothing. Like, I would be going. We should be at 800 to a 1,200 as like a top, and it could even go beyond that and surprise us even more. Like, it all really depends. Like, Bitcoin dominance is still shooting up. Like, this is a big drop, is what it looks like on the daily, and massive volume, right? But, and it's kind of crazy that we had such big volume for such a tiny little candle. But when you pull it to the weekly, we've just had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks up. So Bitcoin dominance is still climbing, and
it looks like middle profit taking, right, at 75. So
yeah. So I mean, if Bitcoin just keeps going up, like the total market cap would go huge. So like you were saying, James, like we've got to look at the total market cap and how it's going, and that will inform what is reasonable. All we know at the moment is that it's shaped up to, it wants to just fucking go. So, okay, like we got our seats on the bus. Let's go. Let's see where you're taking us. Let's see how far. But like volume's kicking in. I mean, we've talked at length about how everything's going through. Something else.
Let's kind of lay it on the timeline, right? Because we're looking at kind of holding period, 4-year cycle, all that, right?
Yeah.
So what are you thinking Solana end of the year?
All-time high, so above 250 at Christmas.
250, okay, 250 to 300. Yeah, that's what
above. So it could be 250 to 320. It depends on
how about next April, May 2020.
Well, if it breaks all-time highs in December, then above 400 to 600.
Okay.
But at the same time, if it turns out we're going to peak earlier in the year, then it could be in April, May. It could be at $800. Like, I was running the numbers earlier, and it's like, well, if we're up at like $800 in April, May, and we do a similar thing to 2021 where we had like a big drop, you could sell. Drop, you could sell half the position, buy back in on a drop to get the exact same amount you had, and you would end up with like an extra 50% gain on the position if the final peak ended up being later in the year. So it's just like, that's why I agree with Elias that it's a really good idea to sort of de-risk and chop up if we're getting a high, then, because that seems to be where we're at. Because it's a bull market, but we'll still get like a 20% drop or even a 30% drop is not like
unreasonable, right?
Yeah, that can happen. And so if you're already up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10x on a position, on a meme or something, and you go, well, a 30% drop, and I'm already so high up. Let's just take something off, because I can always just put it back in.
Right.
And if not, and it just keeps going up, well then cool. I've just made more.
I mean,
so
you lose 10%, whatever, right? At that point.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I mean, this obviously across the whole world can't really continue as such. By right now, we're in a situation where you make the most money by just owning shit and just doing nothing and not actually going out there and doing stuff. And we saw it, especially in crypto, all the people who start the big crypto companies and they all get really, really excited about it. They make less money, or they end up in prison, Celsius, like, than if they just bought Bitcoin, or they just bought Solana, or they just last cycle, if you just bought Ethereum, if you just buy it and do nothing. Like, it's so accessible for people to out earn people. And like, the space is growing so fast that any company you make is sort of like a higher risk than just buying at spot, really. So it's crazy. But we have to see what happens towards the end of the year. Like, price predictions all, I mean, they're like, no one knows because it hasn't happened yet. We got to know what the total market cap for crypto will get to. We got to see Bitcoin dominance top out. I don't think it has. So we'll know. Like if we're at Christmas time and we're over all-time highs and everything's, you know, amazing, sugar and spice and all things nice and all that, then like, oof. But if we're still in this level, then maybe we have a bit more of a muted thing. But so many things are lining up that like, if it was to just go nuts, then we wouldn't be surprised. It would kind of be surprising if it was muted. And if things were to go down for whatever reason now, that would be so unnatural. Like it would just be unnatural. Something weird is that we've been taken over by aliens. We've got bigger stuff to worry about. Like it'd just be unnatural. The natural progression from here is bullish. Up we go. So yeah, just sit tight and just tune in each week if you want to know exactly. As soon as we know, you know, we'll tell you.
So, timeline-wise, kind of going back, right, guys? We're thinking that we're going to have a run-up all the way to end of next year, 2025, possibly a little better drawdown or correction, April-May period, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not sure you're going to be able to, you know, jump in and out for that correction, we would recommend you just kind of holding the whole time, you know, just stomach the volatility and just ride it out until end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. Like let's see if we can draw something that'll come back to haunt me or something. Like even if we were doing something all the way up here and we came all the way down back to sort of all-time high levels, and you could easily
exactly
do all sorts of crazy stuff. But like we're expecting some sort of up, down, up kind of thing. But we're expecting up now. You look at like the last cycles, especially on Bitcoin, and just at this point, if this was the Bitcoin chart in 2021, at this point it just launched and didn't look back, and it would have like a tiny 1 week of an inside bar down, but not a week down, and then it would just keep going and just keep going and
same
just keep
thing. 2016, last time Trump got elected, there was no correction in spring of 2017. It was just straight shot.
Yeah. So we've been buying dips, and now it's it's still just buy a dip. That's what you do in a bull market. So yeah, like it's good. It's good. But that's why, because we're so confident about it going up, that's why it's especially important to go, what if I am just fucking wrong? And so, you know, don't get too carried away about it. Still stick with your trading plan, basically. Because when you start getting euphoric and crazy, then that's when you make mistakes. So nothing is telling us that it's time to get out. Everything is telling us it's time to go and stay in. So we're in, and we're just going to keep following it and keep a reasonable eye on it. We're going to just tread to. Yeah.
What's your guys' opinion on exits? So basically with the 4-year cycles, at least personally, I think doing a timing-based exit is really great because you can kind of say, okay, in this quarter, I want to get out regardless of the price.
Yeah. Looking back, 2016 cycle, 2020 cycle, 4-year liquidity curve, you know, presidential election, everything says end of 2025, unless we're getting a right translated super cycle, right? So, you know, next 13 months could be one wild, crazy ride. Yeah,
it's quite exciting. It's quite exciting. And yes, to echo what Elias said, like, yeah, time-based. Like, you make the decision ahead of time. Like, there's plenty of, like, and especially, like, meme plays and things that, like, yeah, should I have held? Like, yeah, they went on and did parabolically. But, you know, there's a saying, a bird in hand is better than two in the bush. And so I'm able to collect profits, and then I'm able to reallocate them somewhere that I think is less risk, and I'm able to just compound those. And whilst you haven't made the perfect play of it in terms of you've eked out every little tiny percentage of everything, you have made money. And like it seems like over 90% of people who get into crypto lose money. So already you're absolutely just trailing ahead. So it's really good. And I forget who it was in our chat who dropped in a great explainer about the maths behind selling the top, and that even if you were really, really on it, you were Johnny on the spot with it, you would, when you went to cash out, like you would at best you would be like 10 to 15% off the all-time high if you were to like perfectly do it, because like an all-time high will be there just for like a minute or 5 minutes, and so whenever you go, I think the price will get to like X amount of level. You've got to just sort of go, well, I have to be happy with like 15% less than that, or 15% less, I'm going to start selling, or just something. Because to think that you're going to buy Solana at $7 and then you're going to sell it at $700 and get 100x is like fantasy. That's not going to happen. If you were like, oh, it's low, it's $7, I'm going to buy it, you would probably, by the time your buy order went through, it's already jumped up. Like, I was still going down. We're still going down. Like, all the way back. By the time your buy order goes in, the price is at $12 or $18. So already your cost base is as high as you thought it was. So your 100x is now a 50x, which is still great. It's fantastic. But that is a massive reduction. Or it was blah, blah, blah. So keep that in mind. It's better to take a win than it is to, like, just fuck it all up. And that's why like taking profits in the first half of the year might be a really sensible option for people, because most of the gains probably will have happened by then. So you might still get another 50% increase, but you know, Bitcoin has already traveled from 15,000 to 150. Like, it's already gone up 10 times. So whilst there is another, 30 or 40 or 50 or 60% to gain, you've already gained like 900%. So a win is a win. A win is a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to add some stuff. Or did you want to talk about? Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, no.
Then you can always jump back in, right?
Exactly.
Like Alex said, if let's say you got out at $800 Solana in May, then it goes back all the way down to, argument's sake, 500. Then it goes back up to, past 800. Well, at 850 or 900, you can jump back in. You only lose that $50 to $100, and you can still write it back up. So be more. What did they say? Young traders focus on the profit, but the experienced traders focus on the risk, right? So as the cycle develops and we get towards the end of this liquidity cycle, instead of looking at the profit, we should start looking at the risk.
Yeah. In Bitcoin Live on the risk argument, there's a guy, Peter Brandt, who's there. So he's there with Bob Loukas and a few other guys, and he's been trading for like 50 years. Like, this guy is he's been there his whole life, and he keeps sending these updates, and it's become quite comical because he has like different buckets, and they're sort of broken up into 20% allocations of his portfolio that he's allocated to Bitcoin, and every time they're on different. There's like a monthly bucket, there's a Renko chart bucket, there's a weekly, and then a daily one. And the daily one, which is like they're all like evenly weighted at 20%. The daily one, he has been jumping in and out of that thing like 2 or 3 times a week and losing 0.5% each time. So he goes, it's down, I'm out, but I'm leaving the rest. And so he's got this. But this guy has made school millions. And so you go, well, yeah, he's getting chopped up a bit right now, but like, this guy is never going to lose. Like, he will not lose. He will only win because he's so on top of the risk management. And so he might not win as much as, he might not make 100 years worth of like someone's income returns worth. He might only make 20, but like, it's a win, and it's a win without risk. And so there's a lot to be said for that. Yeah.
There was a guy back in 70s and 80s named Richard Dennis. He was a high school dropout from Chicago, south side of Chicago. I mean, he and his buddy, I think, what was his name? Give me 1 second, guys. Dennis.
While James is looking that up, I want to just add on to the Solana stuff too. Bob Loukas is also very bullish on Solana. He recently posted this out, and this is a chart he put out. This is a 34-week consolidation for Solana. So consolidation means when the price is basically not going drastically down or drastically up. It's kind of just going sideways. He says the best performing crypto of the cycle, that's the 4-year cycle. and that stayed strong while most shat. Solana to all-time high within 14 days wouldn't surprise me now. This one could get silly in 2025. So there's that. And if you don't believe us, if you need more evidence, take a look here also, because there was something that just came out. Where did I put it? Like a million tabs open. Oh, here we go. Solana as a cryptocurrency is now worth more than all of Ferrari. So this is something huge. This is a new coin. This is something new, and everybody's trying to make money on it. And
okay, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, buddy, go ahead.
Ferrari is also like one of the darling stocks of the stock market right now. Like every analyst wants their client to be buying Ferrari just because it's considered one of the most safe but also profitable plays. So for Solana's market cap to surpass Ferrari is like extra special, particularly this year. It's one of Merrill Lynch's favorite recommends right now.
Very good.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. That's fucking super alpha. If these people don't get it, they can fuck right off. You fuck off. Go watch something else, you fucking idiots. You know, we're screaming. How long have we been doing this now? Close to 6 months, and we've just been saying, like, guys, get ready. This shit is going down, and here we are. And like a lot of you guys sitting on the fence, you know, you didn't want to book a consultation, you didn't ask questions. You're like, oh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? You're just watching it go up, thinking you can figure it out on your own. You're not. You need help. And that's why we're doing the show.
Yep. Kind of going back to what we were talking about with Alex, there was a trader named Richard Dennis in 70s and 80s in Chicago. He was a great commodity trader. He dropped out of high school from South side of Chicago, and him and his buddy Bill Eckhart started a trading company with $500, and like within 10 years they were worth $500 million. That's in 1980s money, right? And they started this training program where they take on this apprentice traders off the street, and they'll say, hey, we don't care what kind of background or education level you got. You pass the interview, we'll teach you how to trade. You traded our money. And there was this famous experiment called the Turtle experiment, right? And one of the big things they emphasize in their training program is that focus on the downside or the risk. Because when you take care of the downside or the risk, the upside or the profit takes care of itself, right? So as we kind of move more into the second half of the bull cycle here with the crypto market or the global liquidity cycle, like we like to call it, we're going to focus more on the risk or the downside, right? I know we've been kind of talking a lot about the target prices, profit, the potential, upside. But as you guys going to kind of see, our focus should shift as the market matures in this full cycle.
Yep, and we already have tools ready for that. So especially for Bitcoin, there's a few indicators that are really great, like pi cycle top, or just looking at the monthly RSI, as simple as it sounds.
Yep.
And being
Alex, doing the chart, and we're talking about the time exit, right? And we're kind of start giving you also the exit strategy, right? Don't wait for the top, after the target price band, start unwinding your position, all this stuff, right? And we're gonna probably focus more on that as the market develops.
It's basically being anti-cyclical with the emotions too.
Yep. Yeah, just being the opposite.
Because now everyone was
sad. You're going, okay, cool. It's probably low. Like, yeah, for that earlier this year in June, I was like, I'm feeling kind of sad today. I'm guessing it's a low. Sure enough, that was the low. When I find myself looking at my portfolio, I'll be like, God damn. Then I'm like, okay, hold on.
Whenever you start looking at, you're playing with a Lamborghini configurator on their website, it's probably time to take some profit, guys.
Yeah. So it is good, to check in with how you're feeling, because as much as we go like, oh, we're divorced from the market, like, we are human beings. We feel things, or we should. So it's good to check in with yourself. That's why, like, I've got a trading journal. Every time I buy and sell something, I'll write, It's a very common thing that people do, just so you can check in and be like, okay, like, what's going on? Because, you sit there and go, oh, look, when there's a low, I'm going to just, like, chuck it all in. Yeah, whoo. And then the low comes, and you sit there like, what if it's not? And so you got to look back and be like, no. I'm foolish.
Listen,
the
when
reason
you
why-
start seeing the OnlyFans girls start giving crypto advice,
Ah!
Well, I just want to say this too, because a lot of guys at home, like, you have to, here's a personal, because James always said this, and James is in his 20+ years of doing this, literally generating millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. It's not an exaggeration. He's a genius. When you guys trade, it is you versus your emotions. Okay. You have to have a plan and you have to stick to your plan. And another part of that is this: right now, actually, not even now, 6 months ago when we started this show, that's when you should have started paying attention and making allocations. But then this is what happens. This is how normal people lose money. And this is how they turn around and they say, oh, crypto's a scam. I hate everything. Okay. One, you have nobody helping you out, which, like I said, you need help. Two, you watch when the price is going up, 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 heading towards its peak, and then you buy close to the peak, and the percentage of money that you make is very small, and you have no intelligence onto when to get out. And you guys wait until everybody and their mother is talking, like the OnlyFans girls are talking about cryptocurrency. You're like, okay, I'm finally going to buy in. I'm finally going to buy in. And then you have no plan. You have money on Kraken. You have money on Coinbase. You have money locked away on a MetaMask account somewhere. You do all these things, and you're frantically racing, trying to make some money when the time is already up. And we're telling you right now, the time is not up yet. Okay. The time is not up yet. 2025 is going to be insane. The only thing that can make it this go in another direction, if somehow they take out President Trump, he gets shot or killed or something like that. That's the big black swan event. And there's 2 attempts on his life already. So that being said, pay attention to what we're saying. And everything we're saying is, as you've been seeing, it has been purely based upon mathematics only. Mathematics, history, government policy. This is a whole new show. This is a whole new approach that we're taking here to this that is very sober. We're not giving you a bulletproof portfolio and saying everything's going to go to the moon and we're all going to make it. We're all not going to make it, because for someone else to make it in crypto, somebody else has to lose. If you buy Solana at $100 and you sell it to somebody else at $500, that person's money, you get their money. And if Solana the next day crashes down to $1, that person loses and you win. And the earlier you get in, we always been saying this too, time in the market beats timing the market, because you cannot time the market. Because if you did, you wouldn't be sitting here watching us. You'd be on an island full of fucking models somewhere. Okay. So,
working with a Ken Griffin, BlackRock, right? Or
yeah,
not
BlackRock, right? They would change the name of their programs, Aladdin, to you, whatever the hell your name is, you know? So that's what we're saying, man. So big W across the board. Anybody else got something to say before we wrap up?
I know a trader here in Philippines, and he's probably worth at least 100 million, if not more. And he's been trading, older guy. He's been in his 60s or 70s, older guy. He's been trading probably since 1980s. And he told me one of the things is that some of the most profitable trades that he made, he was scared shitless, right? He was uncomfortable because it was like, just like you said, the market bottom when nobody is buying, right? And everybody's telling you you're wrong. Or when he was to sell at market top or near the top, where people are saying, you're stupid, right? There's a lot more room to go. Why are you selling? So kind of what John was saying, it's always about you versus your emotions, because you can't do anything about the market price. Market is going to do what it's going to do. So you got to control your emotions. And that's where we want to come in and kind of get you guys through.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also wanted to add one small thing because of the last comment from Future Masculine, which is, should I keep some SOL for long term? How do you feel about long term SOL? I think something we don't see doing the streaming, looking at crypto all day, is that we have basically, we are looking at Bitcoin, which is leading the crypto market, and everything else, as long as there's no problem with the development team or with the tech or something like that, or black swan inside the project, is more or less following Bitcoin. So if we say Bitcoin somewhere 2025, we're looking for the all-time high and trying to exit at a good position. This is basically, if there's nothing special about Solana, for example, this is basically the same for Solana.
Regarding this statement here by Future Masculine, also, look, you said, should I keep some Solana for long term? I think that's a bad idea. But I mean, you need to have a trading strategy, which is, okay, I have $1,000 and I want to turn this $1,000 into $2,000. So you take the $1,000, you buy, for example, you buy Solana now, it's like 190. And then you're like, okay, when Solana goes to $500, I will sell it. And then I will take the profits and I'll go buy a house or put a down payment on something or go to France or whatever the hell you want to do. Okay. You need to have a solid start and exit strategy, which 99% of people do not have. Some people are very uneducated with cryptocurrency. They come to me, they're like, I have $5,000 and I'd like to turn this into 200,000. Well, yeah, and I want to go to the Playboy Mansion, you know, like, you know, I want to go to the fucking Playboy Mansion. So, you know, that's a hope. That's a hopium. You know, it doesn't work. You need to have a clear and logically and mathematically sound plan. And from there, that is how you make profits. But not like these shows right now. The show is the lowest viewed show I have on my channel, which I get, I'm a dating channel, but I do also understand that cryptocurrency is a place where you can make astronomical amounts of money. And I'm trying to help as many men as possible with as many avenues as possible. But you have to sit down. You have to do the work. You have to do the research. I could not do what I've done by myself, and neither could anybody on this panel. We're better together. We are the crypto Avengers. And so that being said, you need a plan, my brother. Brandon M, $5 super chat says, I enjoyed your lecture show, and this show is very informative. You've helped me a bunch. Thank you. Thank you for the $5. Thank you for the $5. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us here. We appreciate you for showing up with us. We'll be here next week to tell you I told you so again. Until then, peace out.